Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's honeymoon? Plus updates. Original post. Mom and Dad got divorced when my sisters Sam and I were 13 and 10. That was 12 years ago. My father was a cheater and still is, on to his fourth marriage. Mom met her boyfriend George a year after the divorce, but she kept it a secret and didn't introduce him to us until 2 years later, until she was sure that he was the one. That was the time I have seen my mother the happiest in a relationship. She's always been a happy and bubbly person. Sam hated George with all her might, because she loves my father very much and he was very heartbroken that Mom moved on. He even attempted on his own life. My sister never forgave my mom for it and threatened to cut contact if my mom didn't dump her boyfriend. My mom did. Afterwards, my mom was very depressed and down, but my sister and dad were happy. Then my sister left for college a few months later. I know for a fact that my mom started seeing her boyfriend again a year ago. She's been happy again. My sister got married last weekend. Yesterday, we had a lunch before she and her husband were to leave for their honeymoon. When I arrived, she was a bit down. Apparently, she asked Mom to join us, but Mom declined. So she opened up saying that since Mom dumped her boyfriend, she has been very distant and cold with my sister. Never rude or mean or angry, just cold. If she asked her anything or needed something, Mom would be there for her, like when my sister had severe COVID. But other than that, she never contacted my sister on her own volition. My sister was telling me that maybe Mom never will be happy again because of her ending her relationship. I told her not to worry about it because they're still seeing each other behind our backs, and that Mom seemed very happy. My sister was shocked, and she started yelling in the middle of the restaurant and started trying to call Mom to ask her. Then she called me an a-hole for never telling her before now. I just never thought it was a secret that I was hiding. Just a private matter, and I thought my sister knew too. Because how couldn't she realize that Mom has been happy again and have been going for weekend getaways? My sister is now demanding that Mom break up with her boyfriend or she would go no contact. And I feel like the a-hole for everything, including miscalculating that my sister still has the same stand. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your sister is overreacting. Not everything is about her. You didn't ruin her honeymoon. I feel like it is my mistake to start this again. My mom told my sister that she is an adult now and free to go no contact. Now my sister thinks my mom and I are a-holes. You cannot govern your life worrying about how your sister is going to react. You spoke the fact. You had no intention of malice. Sis ought to be able to handle this information without making a scene. Info, what did her partner think? I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of them since, and he wasn't at the lunch. You're the a-hole for telling your sister that your mom is dating, instead of calling her out on her crappy hypocritical behavior deeply hurting your mom. It's okay for dad to go through 4 marriages, but mom has to stay single the rest of her life? Your sister doesn't love her mother much, does she? I'd be pretty distant and cold to the daughter who's okay with a cheating father, but not okay with mom moving on. Your mom should cut contact with your selfish sister. But nah, you aren't the a-hole for upsetting your sister. She should feel guilty for hurting your mom so deeply. Thank you for your comment. I agree with everything. This, not the a-hole. Your sister is a manipulative narc in her attempt to weaponize going no contact to force your mom to split with someone who makes her happy. Don't you dare let her try to ruin your mom's life. Lesson learned. Don't share anything about your mom to her again. Now for the first update. So my mom and George are getting married and none of us is invited. Just some of their closest friends and George's children and their parents. They're getting married in September and moving to another city. She sent my sister a letter telling her that this time she was the one who is asking for no contact. That she has done her job now and raised 2 well-adjusted and happy daughters. And she believes her duties have been fulfilled. Now we are adults, my mom wants space and peace now, and she will not be dragged into more drama. That she wishes my sister to stop being like her father, believing all people are her property and puppets. And after that, she can take the same amount of time to reflect. Then they could maybe reconsider their relationship. So if it takes you 5 years to be a decent human, then take another 5 years to make sure and reflect. Then maybe we can consider reconnecting. Until then, I wish you the best life, but I don't want to be a part of it. She didn't write any letter to me and told me that we could always keep in touch. We talk 5 to 7 times a week, and I am welcome to visit and stay with her and her husband anytime I wanted. Not sure how to feel. My sister is the one who hurt her, and yet she only decided to move on once she made sure my sister was happily married. But what about me? I think your mom has sacrificed enough for you and especially your sister. She deserves happiness. She's not going low contact with you. She shouldn't have to wait for you to get married for anything. It sounds like both you and your sister, but especially your sister, are so used to your mom sacrificing herself for the two of you that you just expect. How about instead of expecting that, you support your mom for a change? Call her, tell her you love her and support her and want her to be happy. Ask if you can be there to support her when she gets married. Tell her that you want to be there for her and with her on her special day. OP, do this. You sound redeemable. Not your sister who seems to be a retread of your father. You clearly need to think hard about your relationship with your mother, and it's clear that she doesn't trust you with her relationship with George. For good reason. Your mother seems like the person you need to try to invest in. If you work hard and keep your mouth shut, she may let you in. The last sentence is key. Keep your mouth shut. Do not pass on any info about your mom and wedding to sister if you get it. It will be a betrayal to your mom. Show your mom you can be trusted and you are on her side. Good on your mom for doing what was right for her and being firm in her boundaries. What a terrible toxic situation. An emotionally manipulative serial cheater of an ex-husband. Daughter that gave her an ultimatum to cut out a new partner that made her happy. The same daughter that after all this time still won't allow her mother to be happy with someone new while your father is on his fourth marriage. Unbelievable. Talk about double standards. Her reaction sounded pretty over the top as it was. I think it makes sense your mom cut her out now that she's married. And it sounds like she wants her relationship with you. Nothing's changed on that front. I don't know if I understand your last question. What did you mean by what about you? She isn't waiting for you to get married, nor does it sound like she plans on going no contact. My sister is now demanding that my mother leave her estate to us because it was my dad's money anyway, and trying to contact lawyers about that. I honestly don't blame my mom, and I don't want anything to do with her or my dad. My dad is raging too, saying how he loved mom and she never forgiven him. And honestly, he says that she is cheating on him even now, and acting all heartbroken. Your sister and father are delusional. Cheating on him? That's rich. It's her money regardless of what your sister thinks. I would join your mother in going no contact with them. If you talk to mom 5 to 7 times a week, can you not ask her why she's similarly excluding you? Did you copy any of your sister's behavior? You also need to apologize for using her personal life as gossip for the family, or as a tool to get your sister agitated. No, I did not, but I kept away from both sister and father and didn't have an opinion. I am already low contact with both my father and sister, almost no contact with my father since he cheated. Last update. We have talked and she honestly was scared to invite me and not my sister because she didn't want to hurt my sister or make her feel she favored me. So I got very upset and told her that I have always paid for my sister's mistakes. She is the problem, that I am treated equally to her not to offend her when I have always loved and supported her. I knew she was seeing her future husband and was happy for her. She started crying and she apologized. So now I am invited to her wedding. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? I, 34 male, recently inherited $400,000 from our parents' estate after they passed away. There was a slight delay in my part in receiving the said amount because of some legal complications. My younger brother, 31 male, received the same amount, but just months after their death. And he was swindled out of nearly all his life savings by a shady investment scheme. Now he's asking me to share $200,000 of my inheritance with him to help him get back on his feet. He argues that our parents would have wanted us to have equal financial standing and that losing his money wasn't his fault. Yeah, right. And that he'd pay me back all later. I feel terrible for him, but I don't think it's fair to give up half of my inheritance for a mistake he made, no matter how unfortunate. I've been working hard, budgeting, and planning to use this money for my family's future. If I give him half, it puts my own financial security at risk. My wife supports my decision, but some relatives think I'm being greedy and heartless, saying family comes first. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. Your parents did put you in equal financial standing. Exactly, the bro messed it up. He's gotta sleep in the bed he made. Bro doesn't get extra bonus points for stupidity in life. It's best he learns that now. Stupidity can't be fixed. It's forever. He'd probably do the same thing all over again. Every action has consequences. He's reaping the consequences of his actions. Sucks to be him, not the a-hole. If he had taken his $400 and immediately doubled it in his investment scheme, would he have given you $200 so that you would both have even financial standing like your parents would have wanted? Your parents did provide you with equal financial standards. What they apparently fell short on isn't providing you with equal intellectual standing. Your brother is an idiot first for blowing $400,000, and second, thinking it should be your problem. Probably also third for thinking that he's going to take the $200,000 and somehow be able to turn it back into $400,000 so he can pay you back. Not the a-hole. Tell the relatives who called you greedy and heartless that you let your brother know that they'll be giving him money to get back on his feet. Not the a-hole. His bad decisions, his problem. I just did that. Thank you so much for the idea. Now for the first update. Wow, this blew up. I didn't think I need online strangers to knock sense into me. Also, it's funny how quickly someone can go from calling every hour to a direct block. I called my brother and asked him what exactly happened, and told him I'd only give him the money if he told me the truth, and only the truth. He told me he invested in a company called Aramco, obviously not the real one, to a sheik, and paid his deposit of $10,000 the first time, where he got back $20,000. Then he began scaling up and always got doubled, until $100K. He got back $110K, then was emboldened and invested $300K, and was guaranteed $600K, and the rest is history. He made a police report but had no evidence to share, as he withdrew in cash and dealt in cash itself, taking only token receipts which were fake. He kept the previously gotten amount in cash in his house. I only came to know how stupid someone can get. I told him his lack of basic common sense and greed does not constitute grounds for charity on my part, and told him to take better care of the remaining $100K. He cussed me out and told me I disappointed my parents. As for my relatives, I told them all in a group chat that I'd only match whatever they would pay to my brother, and even offered to double it, since I was so greedy and wanted to prove them wrong. Thanks to a legendary commenter who suggested that. I love you. I was cussed out there too. Lol. They're all blocked now. They told me the money got into my head. Sorry for not replying to the comments. I was really weakening in my resolve not to pay him, and you guys just snapped me back. Thank you. You all saved me. Not the a-hole. I was already on the side of not the a-hole before the edit. But geez, he's just trying to scam you. He wants $200K when he already has $100K plus left in the bank? If you sent the money, you would have $200K and you would have $300K plus. How is that equal financial standing? What an a-hole. I was very close to helping him out and being an a-hole to myself. Thanks to the sub. Second update. He called again. So after blocking my brother and pesky relatives and thinking the drama was over, he found another way to get to me. He called through my wife. Turns out, things are even worse than he originally told me. That $100,000 he had left is all going toward paying off loans and a car he financed, so he's basically left with nothing. He finally admitted how desperate he is, apologized for not being fully honest earlier and being a douche and cussing me out. He said he realizes he messed up big time. Greed got the better of him, and I was asking for $50,000 instead of the $200,000, promising to pay me back eventually. He even said he'd appreciate whatever help I could offer if I couldn't give the full amount. Yes, I asked him about the previous increments he received. Turns out he actually invested $350,000. The desperation in his voice was palpable. But honestly, I'm done with him. He wasn't always this reckless or stupid. Maybe I was wrong, but the guy I'm dealing with now is a complete mess. Thanks to you all who made me see that. His greed and lack of financial knowledge are his own doing, and I'm not about to bail him out. Lastly, thank you to all of you who took time to help me realize the massive blunder I was about to commit. You guys saved my finances, and quite possibly my life. I'm grateful to all of you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking someone to stop coming to my house uninvited? My wife gave her brother a key to our house. I routinely go to my house on my lunch break, and many times have found my brother-in-law at my house uninvited. No one else is home, but he comes to my house and eats my food for lunch. A couple weeks ago, I had a 14-hour day at work, a Thursday, and I had to be in the field for a construction project. On Friday, I was struggling at the office and decided to call it today, so I could go home and rest. When I arrived at home, there was my brother-in-law. I was exhausted and really not in the mood for a guest. Later that day, I texted and told him that I wasn't comfortable with his unannounced visits and asked him not to do it anymore. I told him he was welcome at my house, but I wanted to know when he would be there and that I need boundaries. He seemed cordial with his text response, but I have caused a civil war. My wife is mad at me and so is her other sibling and parents. They said that I'm weird and don't understand how siblings work. In my opinion, it is weird and rude to act like one has carte blanche to someone else's house and food. Am I the a-hole? Is your wife's family from another culture or possibly planet? They sound very different. I would go crazy if I found a family member of mine in my house without being invited, especially if they were eating my food. That key needs to be revoked or change the locks if wifey refuses. Not the a-hole. Yes, she is Mexican-American. Her brother is the only boy and as such has entitlements within the family. Maybe his family, but definitely should not be yours. Her normal meter is broken. That is not normal. Yes, I agree. I have felt like I am crazy from all the pushback from my wife and her family. Nope, she is wrong. That is not normal at all. He can go hang at his mom's house and eat her food. It's time to pull out the machismo card and tell your wife that you married her and not her brother. But that can change if she refuses to support your boundaries. If someone was coming into my house when I wasn't home, they would 100% lose their key privileges. Absolutely no way would I tolerate that. The first time I came home and found it let himself in without asking, I'd have gone ballistic and taken the key off him. Agree, a key isn't an open invitation to use the house as your own. It's a sign they trust you if you were to ever need it. Yes, my family all have our house's key the same. My dad is a locksmith and set it up the way so that any of us could help each other in an emergency. But none of us, parents or siblings, even adult nieces and nephews now, have ever violated that by going into another's home without asking or being asked to. Correct. If you are entering my home uninvited and unannounced, eating my food and laying around like you live there, then you are paying me rent, utilities, and grocery money. My wife can move back home or in with her sibling if they cannot understand. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister pay for her kids' medical bills because of what happened when I needed help? Okay, so this is messy as heck, but I need to get it out of my head. My sister, 28 female, and I, 26 female, aren't super close. And honestly, we've never really been. She's one of those people who's always had her life together. Good job, nice house, all that. Me? Not so much, lol. I've had my ups and downs, and a couple of years ago, it got really bad. 2 years ago, I lost my job. Completely out of the blue, hey, thanks for everything. We're shutting down. Good luck. I was screwed. I had no savings because, life is expensive, and I was living paycheck to paycheck like everyone else I know. My rent was due, and I had no idea how I was going to pay it. I was freaking out. Can't sleep, crying all night, stomach and nuts level freaking out. I swallowed my pride, already in the toilet at this point, and called my sister. I asked her if she could lend me $1,000 to cover rent. Not give me, lend me. I promised to pay her back as soon as I got a new job. I wasn't asking for a handout, just for help. She didn't even hesitate. She said no, straight up. Flat, cold, no. Then she gave me this whole speech about how she doesn't believe in lending money to family because it always goes wrong and ruins relationships. She said it wasn't personal, just her policy, and then basically hung up on me while I was sobbing. I was devastated. Like, I get it, no one's obligated to help me, but I'm her sister. I wasn't asking for anything crazy. I just needed help to not end up homeless. Anyway, I figured it out. I sold some stuff, borrowed from a couple of friends, and barely scraped by. But that moment, it stuck with me. It changed how I see her. She made it very clear I couldn't rely on her when things got tough. I never said anything to her about it after that, because what's the point?
but I never forgot. Fast forward to last week. Her husband got laid off a couple of months ago, and I guess they're struggling, though I didn't know the details because we don't really talk. Then, out of nowhere, she calls me. She never calls, so I immediately knew something was up. She was crying, full on sobbing, and told me they needed $1,500 for my niece's medical bills. It's something about a treatment she needs, and apparently, insurance will reimburse them, but they have to pay up front. She said they're completely out of options and begged me to help. And look, I love my niece. She's 3, adorable, and obviously has done nothing wrong. But I couldn't help but think about the phone call 2 years ago when I was desperate, and she couldn't have cared less. So I told her, sorry, I can't help you. And yeah, I might have been a little petty because I threw her words back at her. I don't believe in lending money to family because it always goes wrong. She lost it. She started screaming at me about how this is different because it's her child, not just stupid rent, her words, and how I'm a selfish witch for holding a grudge over something that happened forever ago. She accused me of punishing an innocent kid just to get back at her, which, okay, maybe that's a little true, but also, where was this whole family helps family thing when I was begging her not to let me lose my apartment? Here's the thing, I can afford to help her. I've worked my butt off these past 2 years to get my life together, and for the first time in forever, I actually have some savings. But why the heck should I? She made it clear that we're not that kind of family. She set the rules, not me. And now that the shoe's on the other foot, I'm supposed to just forget everything and bail her out? I can't. Of course, she immediately ran to my parents, and now they're all over me too. My mom keeps saying, it's not about her, it's about your niece, and that I'm being heartless. My dad told me I'm acting cold and vindictive. They're making me feel like absolute garbage, and honestly, maybe they're right. It's not my niece's fault her parents are struggling, but it's not my fault either. And if I cave now, I know my sister will just think she can treat me however she wants, and I'll still come running when she needs me. So yeah, I feel horrible, but also I feel like she kind of had this coming. Am I being a total a-hole here? Or is it fair not to help her after everything? I can't tell if I'm justified or just being petty. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Sounds like your parents are saying they can give her the money, doesn't it? They can't. My dad's on disability and my mom's still paying off their mortgage. They'd probably dip into their retirement to help, which is why they're pressuring me instead. So, they pay and get reimbursed by sister. What's the issue? It's about niece after all. Because no one will get reimbursed. The whole insurance is a straight up lie. She can contact the hospital to work out a payment plan. You're following the golden rule of treat others how they treated you. Can't blame you for sticking to it. Hashtag petty but justified. 100% this. She didn't have your back when you needed it, so why should you go out of your way for her now? You're not being petty. You're just holding her accountable for her past actions. Hashtag petty but justified all day long. Mini update. Sorry, there's a lot to read, but I want to say I'm reading all the replies. I see there are more options than I previously thought. I'm considering helping her get the money in some other way, like paying the healthcare providers directly or getting legal support. I'm extremely bitter about what my sister did back then. Frankly, I do feel like teaching her a lesson, but I don't want to be psychopathic and let my niece suffer. Thank you for the honest advice. I'll read all the suggestions and contact directly if needed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going above and beyond to make sure my kids see their half-sister and not even making sure they get to see her at Christmas? I, 30 male, have 2 kids, 11 female and 9 male, with my ex, Charlotte, 30 female, and have full physical and legal custody of them. We had our kids young, and while we both struggled, Charlotte struggled more. Within a month of our son's birth, she regretted having the kids and arguably felt the same way about our daughter. She voiced this after our son was born, asking for time to find herself. However, once she was free from parental responsibilities, she didn't want to come back. From the beginning, I had primary custody of our kids. Charlotte was granted a generous visitation schedule for someone who admitted she didn't want to parent. The judge gave her 3 weekends a month and 4 weekday dinners, Wednesdays. However, she never took the Wednesday dinners and rarely took more than 1 weekend a month. Sometimes, months would go by without her seeing them. Despite this, the judge refused to modify her visitation rights because she was their mother. Charlotte's family wanted to maintain a relationship with the kids, and we got along reasonably well, so I allowed it. Things changed when Charlotte met her husband, Rob. Rob wanted to be my kid's dad and even attempted to gain more custody after their wedding, filing for it on their wedding day, thinking the marriage would make a difference. Rob claimed the kids called him dad, which they denied. He accused me of interfering and telling the kids not to call him dad. My kids told me they disliked how he tried to force them to stand near him or walk with him. I documented everything and consulted my lawyer. I even recorded an incident where Rob scolded the kids for not calling him dad in front of me and trying to hug me at an extracurricular event, saying it was their time with the kids. During the custody evaluation, I presented all the evidence. A guardian ad litem was appointed, and eventually, I was granted full physical and legal custody. By then, Rob had lost interest in the kids because they wouldn't accept him as their father. He went from demanding custody to wanting nothing to do with them. Charlotte seemed relieved to no longer have the kids around. Shortly after the court decision, I learned Charlotte was pregnant, and 10 months later, she and Rob had a daughter. My kids have seen their half-sister 3 times in her 4 years. Charlotte has no contact with our kids now, but her family still sees them. Charlotte's parents and siblings recently complained that I don't facilitate a relationship between my kids and their half-sister. They said I should go above and beyond to ensure they grew up loving each other. Apparently, my kids told them they don't care about their half-sister. When asked, my kids said they simply don't feel connected to her. Charlotte's parents proposed hosting Christmas for the entire family and demanded I send my kids so they could spend a holiday with their half-sister. I declined. I told them I wouldn't send my kids away from their active parent on Christmas just to be ignored by their other parent and have a 4-year-old pushed onto them by extended family. Charlotte's parents were unhappy and accused me of being a petty dad who only cares about his bloodline and not the relationship between half-siblings. They said I should do what's best for the kids instead of myself. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are prioritizing your children's comfort and emotional well-being, which is your primary responsibility as their parent. Relationships between siblings should develop naturally, not be forced, especially in complex family dynamics like yours. Keeping your kids with you on Christmas, a significant family bonding time, is entirely reasonable. Charlotte's family's expectations are not only unfair, but also disregard your children's preferences and feelings. You're doing the right thing by putting their needs first. Not the a-hole. They're being selfish. It's absurd for them to claim it's best for the kids to be away from their safe, involved parents for a major holiday. Your responsibility is to your own children, and if they're not interested in a relationship with their half-sister, you're under no obligation to force it. I think so too. Especially when it would lead to them being ignored by their mom and outright berated by Rob. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not working on forgiving my sister in therapy, even though we're in family therapy? I, 17 female, stopped talking to my sister, 14 female, 8 months ago. We've always had fights, sometimes bad or annoying ones. But 8 months ago, we had a fight where my sister told me she wished I died with our mom so she could have a perfect family, instead of me always reminding everyone that it won't happen. She said it like she truly meant it. She told me I was the worst person she'd ever known, that she didn't understand why I had to be alive, and that I kept her mom from having a child of her own to create the perfect family. When she stopped talking, she realized I wasn't reacting the same way I usually did. In most fights, I'd roll my eyes and walk away. This time, I just told her that I wished I had a real sibling, but now I'm an only child, so we can't all get what we want. She tried to apologize, but I completely shut her out. Our dad heard about the fight and told me she's younger and I need to forgive her. I told him I didn't have to do anything, and I wasn't going to forgive her because I know she meant what she said. He told me I was mean for saying I wished I had a real sibling and claiming I'm an only child when I'm not. I told him I was done, so we're not sisters anymore. He kept trying to talk to me, but I held my ground. Then he and my stepmom decided we all needed family therapy. A lot of stuff came up in the sessions. How our mom died when I was 5 and my sister was almost 3. How I remember mom, but my sister doesn't. When dad remarried, our relationships with his wife, my stepmom, became very different. To my sister, she's mom. To me, she's just dad's wife. My sister has told me many times that mom means nothing to her and she doesn't love her. To me, mom is my only mom. I miss her, I love her, and having my stepmom didn't change that. I talked about how mom's birthday and anniversary are ignored, and how dad and my stepmom made me hide most of mom's things, even though they were already in my room because my stepmom felt disrespected seeing them. My sister said she hates that I won't let us be a family of 4, and that I won't accept my stepmom. She thinks living people deserve love over dead people. She also believes it's unfair that dad and my stepmom never had kids together because dad already had us. And she blames me for denying them children. My stepmom said she wished I'd accepted and loved her, but she knows that didn't happen. When we discussed the fight, my sister told the therapist she was angry at me because, during an outing with my stepmom, someone asked her about having her own kids, and it made my stepmom sad. My sister said it made her feel bad for my stepmom, and she hated me for doing that to her. When she saw me, she thought of all the times I showed my stepmom that she's not my mom, and prioritized remembering mom. She wanted me to know how that felt. I interrupted and said I already knew she meant what she said, and I told dad as much, but he didn't believe me. When the therapist asked me to comment, I said I was done. I explained that we've always fought about my stepmom, and I'm tired of being told I'm wrong for loving my mom instead of the woman my dad married. I also said I'd accepted a long time ago that my sister loved my stepmom and calls her mom, but that doesn't mean I have to. We went over the fight for weeks in therapy and they asked me to do forgiveness exercises. I refused. I said I wasn't going to forgive her and that I meant it when I said I was done. The therapist asked why I was in therapy, and I said I was forced to come, but I never agreed to work on things. My sister started crying and begged me to give her a chance. Dad was furious at me for making her cry and not participating in the therapy's purpose. He called me a disappointment and told me to figure out what I'll do in 2 months because he won't support me terrorizing my sister with my lack of forgiveness. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Tell your father to go F himself. His precious daughter wished you dead, repeatedly doubled down, and said she meant every word she said. Remind him and her that she's dead to you, and you'll be burying her when your dad kicks you out in 2 months. Wish him luck, and tell him he'll only have 1 daughter in 2 months' time. He must lose your number and forget about you, because for all intents and purposes, they'll both be dead to you. His money better be a great comfort to him when he's old and dying. Sometimes, you have to choose yourself, your own peace, and chart your way through life without the emotional blackmail, gaslighting, and financial threats, forcing you to do what they want because they'll cut you off. Not the a-hole. Dad's basically warned me that I won't be his daughter anymore. I won't cry over it, because I think he sucked as a dad to me when it comes to anything about mom, or even my stepmom. Clearly, he wants me to be as easy as my sister has been for him. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take in my estranged father after what they did to my mom and us growing up? I, 29 female, grew up in a household where my mom was both mom and dad. My father left us when I was 10 after cheating on my mom multiple times and eventually moving in with another woman. He never paid child support or helped financially, leaving my mom to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. We struggled a lot. Sometimes we didn't even know if we had food on the table. For years, my father made no effort to be part of my or my siblings' lives. He didn't call or visit or even send a card for birthdays or holidays. It was like we didn't exist to him. As I got older, I built a life without him and stopped expecting anything. Recently, I got a call from my older brother, 33 male, who told me our dad is now broke, sick, and living in poor conditions after his second wife left him. He is asking one of us to take him in and care for him. My brother declined because he has a family of his own and can't take on that responsibility. He suggested I might help since I don't have kids yet. When I said no, my dad called me directly for the first time in years. He said I was being ungrateful and heartless, claiming he's still my father and deserves compassion. He also tried to guilt me by saying he regrets his mistakes and just wants a chance to reconnect. I told him he made his choices years ago and can't expect me to step in now. He called me selfish and accused me of holding on to the past. Some family members agree with him, saying it's my duty to help him because blood is blood. But I can't bring myself to forgive someone who left us to suffer when we needed him the most. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take in my estranged father? Agreed to take him in as soon as he has paid all his mandated back child support, including interest. Hey Dad, you abandoned me 19 years ago and did not bother contacting me. I understand that you regret your mistakes and I empathize with you. Now please allow me to make the mistake of abandoning you too. If you are around 19 years, we can share stories around our regrets and compare notes. Thanks. Not the a-hole OP. At the end of the day, forgiveness and reconciliation are personal choices. You're not obligated to forgive your father or let him back into your life, especially if it compromises you. Not the a-hole. The only reason he is reaching out to reconnect is because he needs something from you. If he were healthy and still with wife number 2, he would not be contacting you. If the rest of your family is so set on blood is blood, they can help. I wholeheartedly believe that family is what you make it. Relationship dynamics trump sharing DNA. You may not have kids yet, but you have common sense.
Update. I, 27 female, am falling for my sister's 26 female ex 26 male. Would it be unreasonable to date him? Original post. So I'm in a pretty complicated situation. My sister Amy was dating Paul for 2.5 years, from when she was 22 to 24. I wasn't too close with him, but we got along. Well, unfortunately, he cheated with her best friend, and this hurt my sister a lot. I was angry and hurt that he would do that to my sister. My sister became depressed and still has trust issues to the point she's scared to date. Recently, I went on a cruise with my friend and her boyfriend, third wheeling. He saw me on the bar at the pool. He said hi, and I was very cold to him. I told him about himself, and to my surprise, he accepted accountability. He told me the guilt he feels to this day, and he's matured over the years. I decided to let bygones be bygones, and him and I started hanging out as we were both third wheeling. We did excursions, shopping, etc. I didn't realize how strong our chemistry was. One night, we both had a drunken mishap and hooked up. After that, the cat was out the bag and we hooked up a couple times. When I got back, him and I had been texting, and we are considering taking things more serious. I haven't talked to my sister about it, but I can tell she's changed and a better person. Plus, it's been a couple years. Now for the top comments before reading the update. This is a disaster just waiting to happen. OP just destroyed her relationship with her sister for the sister's scumbag ex-boyfriend. Hope the sex was worth it. My sister is my world. If she did this to me, I would cut her out of my life completely. Do you have no respect for her? The pain she went through. You want to throw that all away for some guy that is a renowned cheater? Wow. I hate my sister, and still I would never do something so horrific. Right, but he's changed, she said. Well, if he's changed, why is he trying to get with his ex's sister? This half is selfish. Wait until her sister finds out. And then this broad won't understand what she did wrong. Wow, just wow. She fell right into this guy's hands and doesn't even realize it. Please update us when he cheats on you and your sister goes no contact on you. Now for the update. I decided to give him a chance. Well, he's still a disgusting cheater. A few weeks ago, I decided to tell my sister what happened and what we were planning. She didn't take it well at all and has blocked me and said I'm dead to her. That broke my heart, but I was optimistic that as she continued to heal from the breakup and find someone new, she would get over it. Perhaps even learn to be happy for me. When I was over his place last night, I noticed a bonnet. It was not mine, and I don't wear bonnets usually. That raised my suspicion. I didn't say anything and waited for him to fall asleep. I used the Face ID to unlock it when he was sleeping. I went through his phone, and it was bad. I woke him up and told him he's a disgusting person. I've never felt so alone. I haven't even told my sister yet, but I want her to know that I fell for his lies and that I'm sorry. I'm guessing you're feeling pretty dumb for defending him so hard in your last post and for throwing your relationship with your sister into the garburator. Yeah, the only thing I can do now is take full responsibility for my actions and pony up an apology. It's sad, because what you did is exactly why people are afraid to give others second chances. Right, that's perfect. You weren't betraying your little sister. You were being a good person and giving the ex who cheated on her with her best friend a second chance behind her back. You just started talking to him and then hanging out with him and then banging him and then dating him behind her back by mistake. Whoopsies. How could you have possibly known this would hurt her feelings, or that he would be cheating on you next? The important thing for her right now is that you need her to accept your apology and start feeling sad for you, even though she doesn't want to talk to you. Her wishes are, as you have already established, less important than yours. Now that you're a victim too, same as her, and because you were just being a good person behind her back by mistake anyway, she can go ahead and get over it. What responsibility do you feel like you're taking? Try some therapy before you try apologizing. I hope you understand that you don't love your sister, and she would probably be better off without you in her life. Perfectly said. I cannot for the life of me understand the 181 people who upvoted that ridiculous attempt to paint herself not only as the victim but as a saintly one at that. Oh, look at a sister of mercy over here, sacrificing herself on the altar of second chances. Get the heck out of here, Opie. You are not the victim. I hope your sister cuts you out of her life before you find any new fresh hells to throw at her, because you just feel such a strong connection. Gross. You're gross. Edit, it's now 315 people. Jesus Christ, Reddit. As many posts like this one are on here, the upvotes are probably those who slept with her siblings/cousins/daughter's boyfriend, if I had to guess. You were not sorry when you went after the person who betrayed her. You did not even consider your sister's feelings, even after everyone here told you how crappy it was to pursue her ex. You were not sorry after you told her and broke her heart again. I cannot imagine how she felt knowing her own sister could do this to her, but instead thought she would get over it and learn to be happy for you. You're not sorry you hurt her. You are lamenting because you got hurt. Leave your sister alone. She doesn't deserve such a treacherous person in her life. You, on the other hand, more than deserve feeling alone. Next story. Update. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my sister-in-law at my wedding and telling her no one cares that she is pregnant? Original post. My husband, 30 male, and I, 26 female, got married during COVID. We couldn't have a big ceremony because of restrictions, and unfortunately my family couldn't be present as they live in a different country. With restrictions finally lifted, we decided to have a more traditional ceremony in my home country with my family. My husband's family came, his parents, some friends, cousins, and his sister, 32 female, we'll call Sarah, and her husband, 28 male, we'll call him Matt. Sarah and Matt live on the other side of the US than the rest of the family. They had their wedding a couple of months back in their home state, and ever since then when we have a conversation, even without our wedding coming up, Sarah would say that she and Matt are planning to get pregnant on the trip for my husband and I's wedding. No big deal. I just made sure to tell her that she needs to ovulate for that to happen, but other than that, I could not care less. What started to get annoying is when we were talking about all the activities/excursions people wanted to do, so could go ahead and book it. Sarah would always say, make sure there's enough time for Matt and I at the hotel so we can get busy making our baby. Again, kind of gross. A little annoying, but whatever. They're grown-ups. About a week before we all leave to go to my home country, Sarah and Matt arrive in our home state to spend some time with family, as they rarely see them. My husband and I, his parents, and my husband's brother and sister-in-law are sitting chatting when Sarah blurts out she's pregnant. We all get really excited, congratulate them, and saying how happy we are. We start asking some questions, and Sarah says she's 2 weeks pregnant. Everyone kind of loses a little bit of excitement and say, wow, that's really early. We suggest to wait before telling other people, just as a lot can happen. People usually don't even know they are pregnant until at least 6 weeks, and even then they are encouraged to wait until after the first trimester to tell people. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were very happy and excited for them, but cautioned them even more as they have experienced multiple miscarriages before having their first child. Matt replied by saying they're only telling the people closest to them, like his parents, her parents and her siblings. No one else, since it is so early. Well, the next day, Sarah had called her great-uncle and his wife over for drinks and decided to tell them too. Called her one aunt and uncle and told them, and by the end of the day, basically the entire extended family knew. As well as some of her mom's friends, which stopped by the house and Sarah told. With each person Sarah told, Matt got more agitated, as they had agreed to only tell a select few people. Matt finally gave up and asked her why she doesn't just post it on Facebook as it will be quicker, to which she replied she wants to, but she thinks it will be frowned upon. My husband came to me and said it feels like she's trying to draw the attention away from us at our wedding, as she's known to do anything and everything to have the spotlight on her. I said to not worry about it, as when we are in my home country, she isn't going to know many people, so she won't say anything. He agreed, but went to his parents and told them what he was feeling, and asked if they could politely suggest that she keep it to herself when we left for the trip. They agreed that it was valid for him to feel that way, as they know she hates it if the focus is not on her. Anyway, we leave for the wedding and I see my mom for the second time in 5 years. Obviously, it was a very emotional reunion, but we wiped off our tears quickly and sat down for a meal with my husband's family. After I introduced her to everyone, the waiter take our order, and the first thing Sarah says to my mom is, "Your daughter probably already told you, but I won't be drinking this trip." My mom says that is no problem. You don't have to drink to have fun, and that Sarah will still have fun, even if she chooses not to drink. Sarah interrupts my mom to tell her it's not by choice that she's not drinking, but that she's pregnant. Keep in mind, this is 10 minutes after she met my mom. My mom says congratulations and keeps on with another conversation. Sarah interrupts my mom again and tells her how she's 2 weeks pregnant and just so excited. My mom, who is in medicine, then tells Sarah the same thing we did, that she should probably wait until she's in her second trimester to tell people. And Sarah completely ignores her. The same thing happens with my aunts, cousins, uncles, sister, and grandparents, all of whom she had never met before. My husband yet again speaks to his parents and asks them to please tell her to keep it private, because it feels as though she's purposely trying to make the attention away from our wedding. They say they will talk to her. Matt actually comes up to us and apologizes by saying he agrees that it has gotten out of hand, and that the number of people that know is way more than the number they agreed upon. Fast forward, we are sitting eating while we wait for one of our excursions. A family that I lived with for 3 when I first moved to my husband's country flew out for the wedding and met up with us for lunch. They have never met my sister-in-law. The wife and I are talking about the wedding and all the arrangements, while my sister-in-law sits across from us and listens to the conversation. My husband orders some shots for everyone at the table when his mom says she doesn't want one, so he tells the server -1. My sister-in-law hears him ordering the shots and goes off yelling across the table. "I can't drink alcohol. You know I can't drink a shot. Why would you order me one?" Everyone kind of stops and looks at her for a sec, before my husband says it's not a problem, as Matt said he wants to. Everyone then continues their conversation, including the wife and I. My sister-in-law interrupts me and continues to make a big fuss over how my husband ordered her alcohol when he knows she's not drinking. The wife then says it's okay because Matt said he'll drink it, so it's not going to waste. My sister-in-law then says again how annoying it is that my husband ordered her a shot, and I say to not worry about, because I'll just drink it if Matt doesn't want it. She keeps doing this till I finally tell the wife that she's not drinking because she's pregnant. The wife says congratulations and asks how far she is, and then also tells her to be careful of telling too many people. The situation happens about 3 more times in the week leading up to the wedding. Now, this is why I might be the a-hole. The last time it happened, she was telling my high school friends at the wedding how sick she has been, but no one asked why she was sick. They were just empathetic and saying they hope she feels better. They came over to me to talk to me, and she followed again complaining about how sick she has been and kind of pushing them to ask why she has been feeling so sick. When I finally said, "Sarah, are you freaking kidding me? No one cares that you're pregnant. They don't even know you." Sarah ran off crying, and my mother-in-law heard me say that and told my father-in-law, who screamed at my husband, saying how we hurt Sarah's feelings and how she's just excited. My husband doesn't think I did anything wrong, and my high school friends think I was fine too, because they know the backstory. My mom and some of my husband's family think I was the a-hole. So am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that no one cares that she's pregnant? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. How many times does she need talk to? She was trying to be a center of attention by her words. If you want to be more petty, every time she walks into a room, just say, "Can I have everyone's attention?" My sister-in-law is pregnant, so let's get that elephant out of the room so she doesn't try to be the main character like she has been. I bet you'll hear a pin drop, and she runs off and cries again. That is brilliant, haha. You should also make bingo cards in how many ways she'll try to tell/remind people she's pregnant. Winner gets a baby-shaped cake. Sarah doesn't sound mature enough to have a child. I'm having a hard time believing there even will be a child. Hey, I had a sister-in-law who had a miscarriage every month. After the second or third one, I forgot which, I said to my mother, "Oh, so she got her period. Big whoops." Seriously, she would call my mother and tell her she was X number of days pregnant, not even weeks. And this was back before home tests, back in the mid-70s. Yeah, I have a sister-in-law like that. She announced her pregnancy at my wedding, was supposedly 4 weeks, and then had a miscarriage about a week later. Although I know that a miscarriage is sad for anyone, it was hard to feel much sympathy in this case, considering she basically just had a period. Now for the update. My husband and I finally had our honeymoon and we were unreachable during our holiday because we were out of the country. Our whole family knew this before we left, and we told them the only way to reach us in emergency was to call the hotel. We knew Sarah was going in for her appointment while we were away, and we told her we would call her as soon as we got back home. My husband and I was out one day for the whole day from the hotel doing activities, and when we got back, we found a note in our room to say we have to go to reception. Once we got to reception, the person told us we had 7 missed calls from family and gave us a number to call. We didn't know who called or what about, but we thought it was an emergency. We called the number and it was Matt. He was very confused and asked why we were calling him on our honeymoon and asked if we were okay. We said that the hotel said this number called 7 times and asked him if everything was okay. Matt said everything was fine, but Sarah wanted to talk to us. Matt called Sarah over and she asked us how we were having fun, etc., but we just wanted to know what was going on because we were so worried. Sarah said she went to the doctor and got some news. We asked her if everything was okay because she kept not saying anything and we could hear her and Matt whisper to each other. We heard Matt say to her, "Did you seriously call the hotel 7 times to tell them this? It could have waited." Sarah finally gets back on the phone and said that the doctor said she was going to have twins. We said congratulations and asked if there was anything else. We thought it was an emergency. She said no. She just wanted to share the news because she's so excited and scared, and she couldn't hold it in. She said she also called my mom and told her. They are friends in social media. My husband and I both just said we were very happy for them, but really didn't want to be bothered again if it was not an emergency. Sarah said we were being very rude, and she just wanted to share the good news. We hung up because we had to get ready for dinner. When we got back into the US, my in-laws picked us up from the airport and were asking us if we spoke to Sarah. We said yes. She said she was having twins and we were very excited for them. My father-in-law then said Sarah told them we were extremely rude to her and Matt, and we were dismissive and hung up the phone. We told them what really happened, and they said that is not what Sarah's told the whole family. We are now back in our house and haven't spoken to Sarah or Matt. But Matt texted us both, but the text only came through later, where he said he was so sorry that they bothered us on our vacation and it felt horrible. We just texted back and said all good, and that we were very excited for both of them. All I can say about this whole situation is that I am very happy that we live on the other side of the country from Sarah. She sounds exhausting and insufferable. Poor Matt, still unsure how she went from 2 weeks pregnant to finding out she's having twins. The OP is 9 days old, so Sarah's 3 weeks pregnant. I'm calling BS on the twins. An ultrasound won't show any visible activity at 3 weeks, let alone twins. The egg will have only just finished implanting. Either this is some well-written troll bait or Sarah really is trying to steal the limelight. Telling factor would be if Matt went with her to the appointment where she found out about the twins. An OB generally won't even see you until 6 weeks minimum, since that's when you'll start seeing activity on an ultrasound. If it's real, Sarah is a big fan of attention. Did your brother go with her to the doctor? Did he see the ultrasound? For some reason, women who fake pregnancies often claim they're having twins. Now, that isn't a super likely scenario, but this woman sounds pathologically desperate for attention. I probably have watched too many Dr. Phil episodes on women who fake pregnancies, but I'd reverse image search any ultrasound pictures she sends/posts. I think Matt went with yes. When we got back to the US, she sent us a picture of the ultrasound. I'm not a doctor or in the medical field at all, but it looked like two babies to me. Reverse image search that ultrasound. Thank you. After I spoke to my mother-in-law, she confirmed that Sarah miscalculated how far along she was, and that she is actually closer to 8 to 9 weeks now. She had her first ultrasound at her doctor and then said she was having twins, and she sent me the picture. I still wonder if she's actually pregnant or if we're going to see some Lifetime story about Matt and Sarah, because this is beyond strange. Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invite my underage son? Plus updates. I, 40 male, have a sister, 30 female, who is getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless, but very happy for them as they are longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 male, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking for his clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first, my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month, and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric, which I paid for as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months, he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, and she always complained about something. After a while, he arrived at a final model, and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress, and I confessed that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that, last week, my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird, so I messaged my sister raising this issue, and she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family. My son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. To make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress, but couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible as she would no longer wear the one my son made. She called and yelled at me, saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother calling me saying I should deliver the dress and follow the rules, but I didn't and hung up on her. Because of this, the family's divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's actions, saying she could only make an exception. But another part says I'm unreasonable, that I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong, but just rational and paying her back in kind. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. He should go and wear the dress. Would definitely be unexpected. So your sister can't have children at her wedding, but use your son as child labor to make her wedding dress? She's the a-hole. He's responsible enough to make a wedding dress, but heaven forbid he should be around alcohol. Who knows what would happen? Well, if he's not invited, he doesn't need to give a gift. She should pay for the dress, and if she doesn't, you're not the a-hole. And it should be the full retail cost for a similar dress. Oh, I'd rather put a price tag on that thing. That equates to how much she hurts her nephew. Like $10K. If she doesn't like the price, she can find a different dress in a week. Now for the first update. First, I would like to thank all the comments and suggestions. I really didn't expect my post to resonate so much. I talked to my son about the suggestions you guys gave me, and he agreed to sell the dress at a market price. He calculated the price of everything, and the value is quite high. We sent the proposal to my sister, and she hated it. She said she couldn't afford it because it was too expensive, and it should be a gift because she is family. I responded by saying that it was too easy to say she was family to get a free dress, but not enough to include my son. She cried on a call and begged me to not ruin her day, but I didn't call because that to me was BS. At no point did she offer to just let my son go, nor apologize for it. And for anyone who said that maybe she's homophobic, I'm not sure. But I think you could be influencing her as her fiancé who is a Christian. and has never been close to my son. However, I don't care if he's doing it or not. If she wants to exclude my son from this event, then she will also be cutting ties with me. And for those who are asking for a photo of the dress, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my son didn't agree and unfortunately I won't post it because of that. If anything else happens, I'll let you know. Until then, thank you all. If you don't mind, how much was the value of the dress? Also, you made a good decision. Wishing well for you and your son. Something around 22 to 25K. I think you miscalculated. You forgot the 20% tax because you're taxed for being an a-hole. So that raises the price to $30,000. Please, please, please tell me you have security cameras on your house. She may become unhinged enough to try to steal the dress from your house. Maybe find a secure location to store it until after the wedding. I'll do that. Wow, if she had the audacity to steal the dress, you could file a police report with pictures of the dress and tell the police the exact day she would be wearing it. That would be some present to her to have the police show up and arrest her for wearing a stolen dress and then be perp walked off to jail. That YouTube video would get millions of views. Lol. The family would be in an uproar, but you can point out to them that nobody threatened her and said, go steal that dress. Best to just text her and tell her it was sold for $25,000 and your son was invited to the wedding. I read both your original and updated post. My first thought about her excluding only him is because she doesn't want him to get attention/compliments about him making the dress and how talented he is, because that would take away from her day. I love how you've handled this. You showed your son how to stand up for himself and let him know how important he is to you by standing up for him. I hope it all works out. This is what I thought. If the designer/maker is there, loads of people will compliment him. And she sounds snob enough to be jealous of a 17-year-old boy. Now for the second update. Sorry for the delay. It's been a busy week. My family member skipped my sister's wedding and decided to have a party at a cousin's house instead of attending the wedding. My sister is obviously very upset and has cut us all off her social media. She got another dress to get married, but everyone thought it was cheap compared to what she was going to wear. And I would also like to inform you that someone already bought the dress that my son made. It was a good price, and that will help him cover his college costs. There's not much to say, but I'd just like to make this final point to let you guys know. Tale us all this time. When it comes to free favors and selfish demands, it's all about family comes first. When it comes to someone else's feelings, it becomes it's my wedding day and lifelong dream. Me, me, me. Exactly. If my mother pulled the but family thing to me, I'd be, yes, exactly. My son is my family and my priority. It is my sister who has forgotten family. Also, the other response would be, since when are people obligated to give gifts at weddings, of which they have not been invited to and have been specifically banned from attending? I'm glad Dad stuck to his guns. She violated 3 major etiquette rules. That as far as I'm concerned, it's a 3-strike situation. 1. You don't expect wedding gifts from people not invited to your wedding. 2. You don't expect minor children to give you a gift worth tens of thousands of dollars. And 3. If a family member does a major favor that helps make your wedding, like photography, cake, flowers, etc., they get an automatic invite and are publicly thanked in the wedding speeches at bare minimum, because they deserve recognition and respect for their hard work and skill. Imagine how simple this could have ended. Kid is invited and thanked with 1 sentence in wedding. Everybody's happy. No money, no issue, nothing. Opie's sister seriously expected to get her wedding dress for free and get away with not inviting her nephew who did a whole dress. This entire situation could have been avoided if she just invited Opie's son. It's wild. I don't understand how she would think she could do that. Just invite the lad. He's essentially gifted her $20,000+, which is likely the most expensive gift she'll get. Next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my mother-in-law for my wedding after she tried to sabotage my wedding dress? My future mother-in-law has never been a fan of me, 26 female, for the entire duration of mine and my fiancé's 29 male relationship. I'm honestly not sure why it is that she's always disliked me and been cold to me. But after multiple attempts over the years to build some type of relationship with her, in the 4 years we've been together, nothing has worked. She couldn't care about me, up until the wedding planning started a few months ago. My fiancé and I are paying for majority of the wedding ourselves, while my dad and stepmom are financially contributing as well. Mother-in-law and father-in-law have not contributed at all, but mother-in-law is giving her opinion on things as if she's footing the bill. You should make the themes this color. Make sure you have this dish on the menu to be served. Don't do an open bar. You don't want people being too rowdy. Make sure me, my sister, and cousin are sitting front row at the wedding ceremony, etc., etc. My fiancé and I are absolutely sick of this. Every time she tries to give an opinion, we politely shut it down and tell her we have it under control, but she just never gets the hint. But before she became such a nightmare, I regretfully invited her to come dress shopping because I didn't want her to feel left out. Well, a few weeks ago, we went dress shopping. My mom and close friends came too, and I found my dream wedding dress. I have a curvy hourglass figure, and I found a dress that shows off my figure perfectly and makes me feel gorgeous. The dress is kind of revealing, low cut on the chest and mermaid style, but it's nothing I'd be ashamed of my family and friends seeing me in. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, have hated the dress I chose. She made sure to express that to me multiple times. She even went as far as to say, "This is a wedding, not a strip club. I don't like it." Well, I bought the dress anyway since I'm the one paying for it after all. Then last night, while my fiancé and I are cleaning up after dinner, I received a call from the shop I ordered my dress from. They were calling me concerned because apparently a lady, my mother-in-law, called them pretending to be me and wanted to switch the dress I chose to a more appropriate dress. The sales associate realized that it wasn't my phone number that called to make the change and called me immediately to confirm before they changed the order. I was livid. My fiancé heard the entire conversation and was livid as well. He called his mom to confront her, and she fessed up after denying it a few times. I told her if she's so bothered by my dress, consider herself uninvited from the wedding and hung up on her. Safe to say, she is not happy. She's been calling both my husband and I non-stop, trying to defend herself, but I've had enough. I feel bad for my fiancé though because he won't get to have his planned dance with her. Did I take it too far? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Nope, nope, nope. If she's doing this before the wedding, what will she do at the wedding? My money is on she wears white to the ceremony, but I may be a bit jaded after hanging around r/just no mother-in-law. Also, not the a-hole. That, or she spills something in Opie's dress during the wedding, and then conveniently has a more appropriate dress on standby. Definitely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. An important lesson learned. Your fiancé is willing to stand up to his mother to defend you. Keep an eye on how he acts and reacts as this continues. While it would be an a-hole to set up something like this to test him, it is a test of your relationship and interactions. And it is entirely appropriate to use it as a moment to get a glimpse of what your future together may be. I'm not really worried about this. Before we even got engaged, I made it clear to him my expectations when it comes to his mother, because we both got the vibe she wasn't a fan of me. He's shown me over the past 4 years that he prioritizes me over his mother. He stood up for me countless times over the years, which has tried to make passive-aggressive comments to me, and has told her that we are a package deal, like it or not. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my stepson to move in? My husband and I have 4 children below 7 years old. My husband has an older son, 15, with his ex, and is also dad to her older son, 20. We live in a 3-bedroom house. When my stepson stays, he sleeps on a couch. Despite him not really living with us, my husband is still active in his life and spends lots of time with him. My stepson's mom has 3 younger kids with her ex-husband and recently got a new boyfriend. She lives in a 2-bedroom apartment with stepson getting a room, the younger 3 sharing, and her using living room as a bedroom. Her taste in men is awful, and her newest boyfriend is no different. My stepson has awful things to say about him. Despite this, and despite the fact she's only been dating him for around 10 months, though she's known him longer, she's moving in with him in a week. He is somewhat well off and lives in an empty 4-bedroom house, as his kids are all adults. There's a clear benefit for the kids to have a bigger space and a yard, but obviously a much bigger danger in moving your kids in with a man you haven't been dating for long. My husband has tried to urge her out of making this choice, but she seems set on it. She has major mental health issues and doesn't receive any child support from her ex-husband, so I understand to an extent why she needs to rely on a new boyfriend so heavily. A month ago, my stepson got into an argument with his mom and stayed with us for a few nights before going to his great-grandpa's, who he has stayed with since. He has said that he will never move into the boyfriend's house. Then last week, he asked his dad if he could move in with us, and we told him we'd discuss it. I don't like the idea for a few reasons. The main one is space, as we don't have a lot of it. He would either have to share with one of his much younger brothers, or we'd have to give him his own room and cram 4 kids in together. Another reason is that my stepson isn't exactly the easiest teenager, and has already proven to be a bad influence on my younger kids. And he has a bad temper. I told my husband this, and although he wasn't happy and tried to change my mind, he did go back to his son and tell him that it couldn't happen right now. If there weren't other options for him, my answer would be different. His grandpa's had spare room and has already said he can stay for as long as he wants. My husband and I are also looking at other rental options with 4 bedrooms for us to possibly move in the near future. We had dinner with stepson a few nights ago and explained the reasoning and told him he was still welcome whenever he wants. He doesn't seem too upset and is comfortable at his grandpa's. However, his older brother has apparently found out about the situation. He's in the military in another state and has called my husband up to call him a POS and evidently blamed the whole situation on me. Are we being a-holes? Is it not better to be in a home where he has his own space and is still close by both parents? Everyone sucks here. You, his dad, his mom, the boyfriend, everybody. Everybody created new families and seems to expect the teenager to fend for himself. He's in a bad situation with his equally crappy mom. As a father, your husband needs to man up and step in as a parent to ensure that he doesn't fall through the cracks. The tone of your post reads that you don't care about anyone other than the kids you created. If the young man has issues, who could blame him? The adults in his life are failing him. Absolutely. It's heartbreaking that both his parents and stepmother have completely failed him. I have a feeling this supposed search for a 4-bedroom house will never happen, and I doubt OP's seriously trying to fix the issue here. Especially since if they truly were trying to find a new place, then why mention all the other reasons she does not want the stepson living with them? I call BS. Everyone sucks here, except the stepson and the grandparent. Thank goodness for those grandparents. Wow, are you the a-hole? Honestly, given everything you just wrote, why is your stepson not already living with you? He and his half-siblings are crammed into a smaller space, with a mother with serious mental health issues, terrible taste in men, and financial woes. And you guys let him sleep on your couch sometimes? Honestly, WTF, lady? Of course he's not the easiest teenager. Look at what he's living through, with no support from his dad or you apparently. And now you turn him away knowing full well what a crappy situation he might be walking into? As far as your dig at his mom's choice in men, I guess that's accurate, because your husband appears to be an absolute crap dad, and I can't say much of his choice in women either. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my daughter back to her biological mother? Original post. To avoid confusion, my daughter Millie, 14, is biologically my niece. So what happened was, years ago when Millie was about 3, my sister/her mom Layla, 38, left to work in another country, leaving Millie in my 44 male care. Millie's father died before she was born. Layla had promised to send money for me to take care of Millie and that she'd call and visit as often as she could, until she could take Millie to live with her permanently. After she left, she called probably 3 times in the first 2 months and then went AWOL. For years, I'd tried to find out what happened and assume the worst, only to hear from one of her friends a couple of years later that she got married to someone else and has an entire new family. I was heartbroken because Millie would ask when her mom was coming back, and I never knew what to say except soon. But even she grew tired of it and realized when she was about 8 that her mom wasn't coming back anytime soon. That's if she was coming back at all. Because of this situation, me and my wife were granted parental rights to Millie, and she couldn't have been happier that we were officially her parents. Well, what do you know? After 11 years, Layla finally graced us with her long overdue return last week, along with her new very wealthy family and 2 children. Most of my family was happy with her return, but me, my mom, dad, and my wife were nothing short of furious. She tried to explain, but all that we heard was I abandoned my own daughter and made a new family. As if that wasn't enough, she practically demanded her daughter back. Mom and dad weren't having it at all, and told her that Millie belongs with me and my wife, and that she no longer has any right to her. Welp, There she goes, screaming at me about stealing her daughter because I was infertile. And to hear that coming out from her mouth hurt me in a way I've never been hurt before, to the point where I cried and left. Me being infertile's always been my weak point. And for her to casually bring it up like that despite being my sister, broke me. For the next days, I prevented her from contacting Millie, and I haven't told her that Layla is back, because I'm scared I will lose my daughter. I'm a human being too. I get attached, especially to someone I've had to raise, that too out of my own pocket. Not that I'm complaining. I believe Millie's my daughter, and I can't let her go back to the very same woman who abandoned her. Does this make me the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. She did nothing to raise her for past 11 years, and your parental rights are legal. With that said, Millie's about 14 now, so perhaps the better way is to ask for her opinion and who would she prefer to stay with. As much as this was my biggest fear, I guess it's only fair she gets to make the decision. I was leaning towards everyone sucks here, but this comment about letting your daughter choose make you absolutely not the a-hole. Your sister is cruel and selfish. She will certainly go behind your back. And I'd even bet she would lie to your daughter about you blocking contact for all those years. Show that you're the honest parent. Be approachable, and I'm sure you'll get the outcome you want. Good luck with it all. How the heck could OP suck here? I guess raising a child for 11 years and then giving her to a parent that abandoned her once is a good idea? Seriously, what the actual heck? Not the a-hole. You are her parent. If the state has granted you parental rights due to child abandonment, you are her parent. If your daughter wants to see her biological mother, I wouldn't prevent her from doing it at the end of the day. However, you are still her parent. Edit. I'd like to thank each and every one of you. All your criticism is valid, and I really appreciate you guys for making me realize that I might lose my daughter by keeping the return of her mom away from her. I'd also like to apologize for the way I've phrased some of the things. By no means do I think of my daughter as some possession. She is her own person and doesn't belong to anyone. As such, I've changed the phrase belong to belong with to accurately represent what was meant. I love you guys for all the support you've given me, and I definitely will consult a lawyer. Me and my wife have agreed to tell Millie about her mother tonight, and we will make sure it's all about how she feels and not about us. Now for the first update. I would like to apologize for not responding to the comments and messages I've received lately. Things have been tough ever since we told Millie about Layla's return. After all the support and advice, you deserve an update on the situation. I don't even know where to begin, really. Everything has been a mess. Way too much happened the day after we told Millie. Since there's no word limit here, I'll try getting into as much detail as I can. That night, we told Millie that Layla had returned, and for a good few minutes, she was looking at us, as if waiting for us to say we were joking. But after she realized we were not, she broke down into tears and it hurt. Of course, she wanted to know more, and though we were hesitant, we ended up telling her about Layla and her new family. I had never seen her that furious. She was all over the place, throwing stuff around. And we let her because she needed to let it all out. For the night, she refused to talk to me since I should have told her the moment she came back, and my wife stayed with her for the night. Her anger subsided by morning, and we patched things up. At first, she wasn't sure if she wanted anything to do with Layla, but we let her make that choice, and she wanted to see her. And oh, so God help me with that woman. We set up the meeting for Millie and Layla, but she brought her entire family to the house, along with her expensive gifts, and everything went downhill from there. I need to mention a very important part that should have made Layla realize she truly abandoned Millie. Along with the family was her sister-in-law Tanya, who's about the same age as her. When both of them entered, Millie could not even recognize who amongst them was Layla, and they looked worlds apart from each other. I had hoped that was enough to convince her to see what she did, but she carried on and pointed out that she was Layla, all while attempting to get close to her, even when Millie was clearly distancing herself. It got so bad that my wife had to come in between them, and her husband had to pull her away. That's when she started yelling at my wife for coming in between her and Millie, also accusing my wife of replacing her. What was there to replace? She was never there to begin with. And wow, what a first impression she made to the kid she abandoned. Millie became infuriated once more and things were said. When I say she said what needed to be said, I mean it. It was a serious situation, but me and my wife were struggling to hide our smiles when Millie told Layla off. She called her cruel, selfish, disgusting, evil, and many more vile words to express her hatred towards her. Tanya had to take Layla's kids outside. Normally, I would not entertain the vocabulary Millie was using, but for this specific instance, I just had to allow it. She was too worked up after this, and I had to take her upstairs to calm down. Now it was just me and my wife versus Layla and her husband, and along came the usual chorus. She accused us once again, now saying we influenced Millie to hate her. She was in tears, and for a minute I felt sorry for her. My wife politely asked we discuss this like adults. Now the revelations begin, and honestly, I rest my case. As we were recalling events of the past and why Layla never contacted us again, Jeremy, her husband, was visibly confused. He looked lost, completely lost, to the point where I thought he wasn't feeling well, and I offered to take a walk. And well, we started talking about this matter and I was beyond shocked. According to him, when he and Layla met, she never said anything about a child, and only after the marriage did she reveal she had a child. Not by choice anyway, because he found out from one of my billion texts to her regarding Millie. She further lied and said my family forced her to give up her child to me because I was infertile and desperate for a child that shared blood with me. But it doesn't end there. When Jeremy wanted to read the rest of the texts, she deleted them because I was apparently insulting and making threats to her that were so disturbing she didn't want Jeremy to see them. Of course, I showed him the text from my phone, and he couldn't believe it. It gets even worse. It was said that I was preventing her from contacting Millie, and she didn't even want to involve the police in the matter because me and my family were dangerous. So she thought it was best not to contact us anymore to protect her new family. At some point, I was thinking to myself how incredibly stupid Jeremy was to believe Layla's blatant attempts to cover the fact that she abandoned a child. But I feel for the guy. He was probably so smitten with my sister, just like all her exes, that he failed to see through her pretentiousness. I didn't even get to ask why they chose to come back now, because Jeremy was angry and he went back inside fuming. They were fighting so loudly I had to send them outside. It was clearly going to get violent, and we had to physically separate the two. Jeremy took Tanya and the kids and left, leaving Layla there. My very empathetic wife let her stay in our house since she was wailing so much, and honestly, after all the lies, I couldn't care less about her. I did ask Millie if she was okay with Layla spending the night, but after seeing Layla break down like that, I wasn't surprised she let her stay. She made it very clear the only reason she was allowing it is because she's not like her, and that was enough to let me know we've been doing a good job raising her. She also said she was still waiting for her to explain why she abandoned her and why she chose to come back now. We did get to discuss how she felt about Layla overall, and needless to say, she was very disappointed with her approach. I took the chance to assure her she wouldn't be pressured to side with me and my wife, and that she can get to know Layla if she wants to. We would always love her no matter what. She assured me she wouldn't be going anywhere, and it was very emotional for me because my heart was at ease hearing her say that. Layla and Jeremy are still not talking, so Layla lives with us for now, since my parents don't want her at their house either, and my wife thinks it's too unstable to be left alone. But the more she delays us telling the truth, the faster her time is running out in the house. I just don't recognize my sister anymore. She was never like this. My parents raised her so well. I get she was traumatized by Millie's father's death, but surely it's not enough to change someone so drastically. And to abandon your child despite knowing you're the only parent they have left, then coming back after a long time to take her away from people who love her? It just makes it hard for me to sympathize with her. I doubt any one of us will take this to court, now that Layla's husband knows the truth. Give her a time limit. A week should be enough for her to get her act together enough to move forwards. Any longer than that, and you would be actively harming your daughter by having her around. Good luck on your next moves. Oh, don't worry about that. She has until tomorrow to answer Millie's questions. She can come up with the most saint of explanations, but the lies that she told her husband and his family will be her downfall. I know for sure nothing she says will ever convince Millie, and I did tell Layla that I'll drag her out myself if she doesn't leave tomorrow regardless of the explanation, and I would have the abandonment charges pressed against her. I just hope it doesn't come to that, and she just apologizes and peacefully exits our lives, because even now, I still haven't heard a single sorry from her. I can see she's taking advantage of my wife's empathetic nature, but I'm going to end it. Now for the final update. I've been noticing a lot of traction for my updates, and I can see you all want an update. As for the text messages, I've always kept them over the years ever since Layla went AWOL. They weren't just on one platform, but a lot more others. It was also advised by our lawyer to keep them, and that's how we also got Millie's custody. I know from the reader's perspective it seems everything happened fast, but I assure you it didn't. But I have to apologize. I cannot give you a detailed update about Layla's answer, at least not on a post. Yes, it is that bad. Layla's secret is only between me, my wife, and her. She told Millie it was because of her mental stability, but that was only surface level. Millie did tell her it was great that she eventually came back for her, but things are better with her gone, at least for now. The real reason would crush my daughter. We can't tell her until we're sure she can handle it, but I don't see us ever telling her something as horrible as this. Now I know my sister is dealing with her unresolved trauma that has made her the horrible person she is today. She has left, and I made her swear to never come back, but I know better than to take Layla's words for things, so I had to make sure in my own ways. I didn't do anything illegal if that's what you're thinking. Jeremy did come back before finally leaving to apologize to Millie about Layla's actions and told her she's always welcome at his home and can get to know her half-siblings if she wants to. I don't know what will happen between Layla and Jeremy, but for her sake, she had better lie herself out of this one too, because if she tells Jeremy what she said to me, she might not even see her other kids again. But then again, it would be good if the kids are raised by Jeremy and not Layla until she has seen a psychiatrist. I don't know how to feel about Layla now, because on one hand, I can see she's dealing with heavy unresolved trauma that needs professional intervention. But on the other hand, no mother feels the way she feels about my daughter. I am by all means going to delete this update after some time. Edit from a reposter. I heard back from Opie. Since he was not wanting to share the real reason Layla abandoned her daughter, had messaged him to make sure it would be okay to add this final update into this post, since it might result in a barrage of requests to hear what happened. He told me it was okay, because he was about to delete everything anyway. He did share Layla's story with me. I will tell you that Millie was not the product of an assault, as so many in the comments assumed. I asked how Millie was doing after all of this. He said she was handling it really well. I'm pasting this reply about Millie below. My daughter is much better than I thought she would be. Her life and daily habits haven't been affected, and we're moving on as a family. Poor Millie. I can't even imagine how traumatic this whole situation is for her. And for Jeremy and his kids too. I don't understand how Layla thought she could swoop in and play mom to the child she abandoned, or how she thought she could get away with all the lies. In Layla's mind, Millie's still a 3-year-old, because when Layla left, she froze the image of the 3-year-old in her head. Yes, she knows she's aged, and she's 14 years old now, but she still thinks of her as more or less the same person she abandoned 11 years ago. 3-year-olds adore their parents. They love them unconditionally, and when parents inflict trauma on their kids, the kids don't stop loving their parents. They stop loving themselves. You see this in child services cases. Young children will lie, gloss over, and scheme to protect their parents so they can stay with them, even when the parents are harmful and neglectful. Instead of telling a teacher, an 8-year-old will go full mom mode and care for their baby siblings, make sure everyone eats and house looks presentable, and never tell a soul out of fear of being taken from a violent alcoholic parent. That kind of mindset in Millie was probably very present when Layla left. Millie asked for her for years. However, Millie's 14 now, no longer a young child, not clouded to her mother's actions, and she can see Layla for what she is now. If Layla had come back when Millie was 5 to 10 years old, she probably could have had either partially or fully the reunion she had envisioned. Layla just didn't realize that the toddler she left is long gone, and in her place is a clever young woman ready for some answers. When parents inflict trauma on their kids, the kids don't stop loving their parents. They stop loving themselves. As someone severely mistreated by her parents, this comment stuck a needle in my heart and made me tear up. You are so right. It took me so long to love myself over the people who willfully broke me. Thank you for this poignant assertion. I'm sorry. I have a son who is a toddler. He thinks the sun shines out of my rear end. Want to be adored like a celebrity, but don't have any marketable talents. Become a parent. My son thinks I am the finest chef, the funniest comedian, the most beautiful and smartest person, and the kindest, most wonderful human being in the world. Sometimes I need to do things he doesn't like. Like today, he could hardly breathe because he was so snotty, and I had to briefly pin him to safely scoop it out with a Q-tip. When the snot has been cleaned up and I have let him loose to do what he pleases, and what does he do? He crawls into my lap so I can comfort him, because his mind works under the assumption that I am so kind, smart, and wonderful. that whatever I do was either necessary or he deserved it. When normal people see the way a child loves and trusts, the normal reaction is to break your own back to protect them from pain, hurt, and suffering. Whatever they did, it wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it, and the blame lies on them.